going to look at page 241. We're going to see issue of tax appeal. See, last week we say that if you submit a return and return is deemed as assessment, and if you are not happy with the return, then what we can do is we can appeal over it. Okay. Now the procedure to lodge an appeal, this is how it starts. See, you're given that 30 days to appeal from the date of your notice of assessment. So what's the notice of assessment? If you follow the self-assessment system, it will be the deemed notice of assessment when you submit your return. Okay? So you have 30 days from the date. So let's say, for example, like the deemed notice of assessment, the date is on the, let's say, 15th of June 2014. Okay, you submit on the 15th of June. So you're going to count. 16 is 1 day, 16, 17. So June you have 30 days. That means 30 minus the 15. You got 15 days. So 15 plus 15. That means you have to appeal by 15th of July 2014. Okay. Now if you appeal by 15 July 2014, then you can start your appeal process. Now, but if you missed the date, let's say you miss to submit or lodge your appeal on the 15th July, now then you miss the due date. So what happened is you need to apply for an extension of time for appeal. So the whole idea of what we're trying to do is we try to get a longer due date. See, let's say for example, let's say that now is already 19th of July. The due date is on the 15th. So you did not submit an appeal, so you missed the due date. So if you miss the due date, what you do is you apply for an extension. So if the Director General approved, let's say the DG approved an extension all the way until 31st July, assuming, okay? So 19th of July is the date now, but they approve until 31st July, so you have enough time, right? Now you can lodge an appeal, okay? Now, but the issue is, if you submit an extension of time, whether or not the DG will approve is up to him. That's his power. So it depends on whether this application is approved by DG. Now, if the Director General approves, you can go on and submit your appeal. Now, if the Director General rejects your application, so what he will do is he will then give you a reason why he disapproved your application. He will forward the reason to you, the appellant, and to SC, which we call the Special Commissioner. So the moment you receive this so-called reject letter, okay, that they disapprove your application, you have 21 days to apply from Special Commissioner again, an application for extension. Now if you apply from Special Commissioner, the SC will then see whether they grant you the permission or not. So if SC grant you a permission, then you can go on and appeal. Right, but the SC rejects you, that means you've lost all your hope. Okay, there's no more way that you can appeal. Now once you don't appeal or you can't appeal, then the assessment becomes final and conclusive. That's it. No more. There's no more chance. Okay. So assuming that you start an appeal, okay, either through this way or this way, you start an appeal. Now the appeal will be reviewed by the DG. So they're going to open up the case and see the matter that you complain, so-called that you're not happy. So the time frame given for Director General to look at a case is 12 months. Okay, but the DG can always find a case is complicated and apply for an extension. So if the DG needs more time, DG can apply for another 6 months from the Minister of Finance. Now, but we cannot give you to sit on the case forever because it's very unfair to taxpayer. Okay. Now, so why is there an appeal when we come to self-assessment system? Like example, say let's say you are not sure. Okay, you are not sure if this 500,000 is deductible. Alright, so you feel that deduction is reasonable, but it's not very clear. It's not very clear cut. So you're not sure whether can you claim or not. So what happened is, if you're not sure whether you can claim, if you claim and then later they found out that this is not deductible, you're going to get penalty. So the better way is you don't claim. So that's why usually what we'll do is the taxpayer will first, when you submit your return, you don't claim. Now when you don't claim, obviously your tax is going to be higher, so you pay more taxes. But after you submit the return, then at the same time you lodge an appeal. So when you lodge an appeal, if you win the appeal, then the DG will have to return back the money to you. So this is why we find that it's very unfair if the DG will sit on the case for a very long period, because my money is there. So that's why DG is only allowed in the law to look at a case for 12 months. If 12 months still cannot resolve, he has to pass it on. Okay, now or the most is 18, that's with extension of 6 months. Okay, so when DG look at a case, we see whether that there can be an agreement between Director General and the appellant. So can you reach an agreement? Now there are three types of so-called outcome. One is written agreement, so black and white, that you sign, that you accept. Okay, now if it's a written agreement, that means everything will final there, it finished. So it become final conclusive because you agree in writing. You cannot come and argue and say that no, I don't agree with this. You sign and you accept it. Now it can also be an oral agreement. Now if it's an oral agreement, what the Director General will do is then he will produce a written confirmation of what you and him agreed orally. So that written confirmation, you have 21 days to repudiate. That means you have 21 days to object. You have 21 days to object. So in these 21 days, if let's say you didn't object, you never do anything, okay? Now it will then become what we call as a deemed agreement. So assume that you agree, because I give you time to object, you never object, okay? You become deemed agreement. Now I don't have space to fit the diagram, that's why I stop here. So actually, when something become deemed agreement, you have within 30 days to write to special commissioner. It become deemed agreement. Then you have within 30 days to write to special commissioner to set aside the deemed agreement. Now that means you still can object, that you will write to the SC and say that okay, I don't want this deemed agreement, let's just ignore it. Then if you do that, you will start the appeal again. Now, but if let's say within that 30 days you also never do anything, then the deemed agreement becomes the real thing, so it becomes final and conclusivity. Now this if it's an oral agreement. Now if it's a proposal, okay, now DG can propose certain things on what you appeal and see whether you agree or not. Now this proposal that the DG served to you, you have 30 days to repudiate. Now within 30 days you don't repudiate, it will again become deemed agreement. Now then same thing, From the deem agreement, if you have 30 days to write to special commissioner to set aside the deem agreement. So again, if you never do that, it becomes final. Now, so if you write to SC to set aside the deem agreement, that means you go down, or you repudiate it, okay, that means you objected. So either you objected within 21 days from here, or 30 days from here, or this thing from the beginning itself, the Director General cannot resolve it with you. Now then it will proceed on to the next stage. Now the next stage is Special Commissioner hearing. So if it's a Special Commissioner hearing, that means the case is now brought to the court. So once the case is brought to the court, then the so-called SC will have to listen to evidence from both sides, say how you argue the case and so on. Then they will decide whether who is right, who is wrong, I mean who win the case. So the case will be decided, and the decision is called deciding order. Okay. Decision of the case is called a deciding order, that it will become binding. So you have to follow, and this is a very main difference with if you agree with DG, because when you agree something with DG, you can negotiate. Okay, there's give and take. All right, so they can do it for you. But once you go to a special commissioner, there's no give and take anymore. It's either you win or you lose. All right, so end of the day, you got to see which one you want. Follow. So at this level, usually if you have come to this case, the case is considered soft. Now, unless if you believe that there's question of law, for example, you believe that the special commissioner may have interpreted the law differently, that is not correct, then you can appeal further. If it's just a question of facts, it will end there. So if you appeal further, then it will follow the legal system, that it goes to the High Court. Then if High Court, you want to appeal, you go to Courts of Appeal. Now the final level is Federal Court. Okay, so if Federal Court you still lose, then you got to ask Federal Court to review their decision. All right, so that's basically the process. Follow on. Okay, right, so this is how we do an appeal. Follow, this is how we do an appeal. Right, so basically everything that we have here in page 236 all the way to the end, it's about issue on appeal. Follow on. So you don't need to read all these things. What you do is you just look at the diagram. Now so far appeal is not a very popular area in the exam, so usually they don't ask. So follow on. Okay, right, we're going to move on to this thing. Have I explained to you notice of non-chargeability last class? I didn't, right? Okay, now you see, you can only appeal something when you have an assessment. Alright, now if assessment is there, you can appeal. But they must understand there's only an assessment because there's a tax to pay. So you must be chargeable to tax to get an assessment. That's why if you submit a tax return that you work out, for example, the chargeable income is 0, the tax is 0, you're not paying any tax. There's no assessment. Because you know. So if you have no tax and there's no assessment, then there's a problem. Okay. So let's say, for example, taxpayer is having a loss making business, that the CI is now 0, so TP is also 0. Now in this situation you have no assessment, because assessment is an order to pay tax. So you have no assessment. Now if you have no assessment, then under the legal procedure you're not allowed to appeal, because appeal is within 30 days from the notice of assessment. But you got no assessment, so if the assessment is not there, then the rights to appeal is not there. Now this can be very unfair also, right? Now it doesn't mean that If I got no income means that I don't want to appeal. Now let's say for example, same thing. I have no income, but still I'm not sure about a deduction of 1 million. So does it mean that just because I got no income, then I let go the appeal? I don't bother. No, right? So still at the end, we find that I can still appeal and see whether if I can get this 1 million deduction. If I get more loss, which is better for me in the future. But the problem is you have no assessment. So what's the solution? Solution is now the law allow you to apply for this notice of non-chargeability. Okay. So this notice of non-chargeability, the function is to treat as though it's an assessment. Then you can appeal as though that this is an assessment. Okay. Now, so just look at page 242. Now, look at this example here. Now, Syarikat Jaya closes her account on 31st December each year. The company submits the income tax return form for Y09 on 30th June 2010. Now, the company is not liable to tax, but it disagrees with some tax treatment in the public ruling. So they want to appeal. Alright, they want to appeal. But the issue now is you find that there is no tax payable, so there is no assessment. So if you want to appeal, then you will have to apply for this notice of non-chargeability. Okay? So let's say if the Inland Revenue issues a notice of non-chargeability on the 20th of August 2010, then within 30 days from this date. So August got 31 days. 31 minus 20 is 11. So 11 add another 19 is 30 days. So that's why the last day to submit appeal is 19 September 2010. Alright? So this is what you can do. Follow on. So that's what we meant by notice of non-chargeability. Okay, so the appeal is very short area, done already.